The year is 1929, and you've just been drafted into the Japanese Imperial Air Force. Your first job? Well, you've been tasked to shoot down planes during air combat. But how do you train for a job like this without shooting down your own aircraft and fellow soldiers? Well, that's where this comes into play. This right here is a camera. This machine gun camera was used during World War II. Yes, this is from 1929. But the most fascinating thing is that the technology that's used in this machine gun camera is the basis for all cameras that we use today. All right, so let's just rewind for a quick second here. Why am I even telling you about this machine gun camera? Well, a few weeks ago, I was on Facebook Marketplace and this ad popped up. An ad that read, "This Japanese machine gun camera was used in World War II." I mean, that's a good friggin' title for an ad, but I also thought that would make a really interesting YouTube video. So I called the owner.
Hello?
Hi there, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Just kind of based on its condition, would you accept 1850 for it?
Yeah, but I can't go that low.
Do you have like a bottom line on it?
2250.
If you feel comfortable with 2250, I will take it for that.
We can make it happen.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, that's happening. Now, 2250 might sound like a lot of money, especially for a camera that does not work, but I do want to note something. These are extremely rare and are collector's items. But most importantly, what type of person owns and sells a World War II machine gun camera? This guy.
My name is Chris A. Hughes. I'm an artifact collector and passionate film photographer. So I collect rare, unique oddities and cameras.
So on the spot, I asked Chris, well, why does a camera like this even exist?
It's a Japanese aerial camera.
Now this camera would be mounted to the wing of the Mitsubishi A6M, also known famously as the Zero, which was a long-range fighter aircraft.
It would be used for practice, so opposed to shooting bullets, they're shooting film.
So essentially what would happen is that after they developed the film, the instructor would review all the photos, which would be a lot of photos by the way, and they would see which soldier actually had the best aim during air-to-air combat.
And it would be the same weight as a machine gun, so that when the war happened, they had a little practice already shooting a gun.
But one of the things about this camera is that not only was it used for training purposes, but it was actually used in battle to confirm kills. So I feel like we can safely assume that the technology in this camera, as well as this training strategy, was very effective for the Japanese military. It was also extremely cost efficient. Now at the time, bullets were expensive. You know, the world is at war. So why would you waste your own ammo shooting at your own people for practice? But you know what was cheap? Film. Enter the machine gun that shoots photos. This is the Type 89. How am I supposed to walk out of this building with this thing? Hey, I'm non-threatening. This looks bad, right? All right, so let's take a quick look at this thing. We're gonna go piece by piece, starting off with the lens. Now the lens is actually buried inside the barrel of the machine gun right here, and there is a Hexar 75mm f4.5 lens. I don't see a focusing mechanism anywhere, so it's safe to assume that this was probably set to infinity focusing since they were shooting planes at a distance. All right, so let's take a quick look at this fancy dome thing. I'm sure a lot of you have questions as to what this is. Well, this is an area to transfer data onto the film. Essentially how this works is that you would lift this up, there would be a Seiko stopwatch that would go right here, and there would also be an ID tag. Now what would happen is that essentially there's a little mirror that's in this area up here. The information from the stopwatch and the ID tag would bounce off this and bounce into another lens that you can see right down here, another Hexar lens. That information bounces into a prism on top of the film, and then that data is burned into the film as well as the photo. Now this is really great for the instructors because they can look at this information, figure out who the pilot was and how long the trigger was going to be open for. All right, so this is the area that they would actually load the film. Now the film that they used was 35mm cine film, and the strips are actually 2.5 meters long. So they actually had a lot of ammo. Think about each individual frame being like a bullet. So they had a lot of opportunities to shoot photos. Now let's actually open up this compartment here so you can see inside. Oh, what is this? A message from the past. Storyblocks is an all-in-one platform that helps make your stories more creative without sacrificing time, budget, or resources. Okay, obviously this is not a message from the past. This is a message from our sponsor, Storyblocks. Without them and without partners like them, we would not be able to make creative ideas like this video come to life. As you can see, this is a whole new format, and we're relying heavily on stock footage as well as archival footage. And thanks to partners like Storyblocks, we can actually make these ideas come to life. So having unlimited access to over 1 million royalty-free digital assets such as high-quality footage, templates, illustration, music, and sound effects with our unlimited all-access plan means that we can tell whatever story we want when we want to. So head over to storyblocks.com/ChrisHow to check out their flexible subscription plans. We love Storyblocks on this channel, and so will you. Links are in the description. All right, so moving on to the spring motor. Now this mechanism right here actually allows this camera to shoot 10 frames a second, which makes it more or less kind of like a photo/video camera. Now how this unit actually works is similar to that of a Swiss watch. So on some watches you actually have to charge it by like rotating the dial to actually build up some tension and energy in the watch. You have to do the same thing here with this camera. So what you would do is you'd move this forward and then you'd pull this back to start charging it, and then you'd and eventually once it's charged and you release the energy that's in it by pulling the trigger, you'd have something that sounds like this. There's actually a little dial right here, but this would indicate how much charge is left. So if it's low, you just have to go back and charge the camera up again before you can start taking more photos or shooting video with it. Now looking at the top of the camera here, starting over here, we actually have the scope and a little target. So when you're looking through, you can kind of find out exactly where your plane would be so that you have more accuracy. So this is essentially the World War II version of a scope, or an IEF, AF, EVS. This is the EVF of World War II. Over here is a counter to know exactly how many photos were taken while you were shooting photos or shooting your planes down. And then this part over here is built out of wood to hold the camera, and this camera weighs so much. I would say this probably weighs about 40 pounds, and that is the tour of the Konarushoko. This is the tour of the Type 89. Now I mentioned at the beginning of this video that the technology used in the machine gun camera is also the basis of the technology that's used in cameras today. Now we know that the machine gun camera was developed and manufactured by a company called, and I apologize if I get this wrong, Konarushoko. That company later rebranded and became more famously known as the camera company Konica. Now eventually Konica merged with another famous camera manufacturer, Minolta, and became Konica Minolta. Now in 2006, Konica Minolta sold their camera operations to none other than Sony, which allowed Sony to have access to all of their technology. Sony would eventually use that technology that they acquired to create the first ever Sony Alpha camera. So in essence, this hybrid photo film machine gun camera used during World War II for purposes of war eventually got us here. And that's friggin' fascinating. Now speaking about the Alpha lineup, we're actually giving away a Sony a7S III to a lucky subscriber when we hit 1 million subs. I actually also recently found out that 65% of you that watch my videos are not subscribed. Guys, we put a lot of effort into this video. Press subscribe, hit that like button, and we will most definitely catch you guys in the next one. And also, don't you just want to win a camera? Who doesn't want to win a camera? But you're not going to win this camera. This one's mine.